you're a bundle of energy. You literally got off a plane from Japan yesterday, and you're out with the guys today. You had 8 hours chipping and doing bunkers.
That's 8 hours of fun. That was good. That was good.
I think, I wasn't there, but I would imagine that would be a very special experience on behalf of all the members to actually have you in there, grounding down in the dirt and just show them how to do it with your clubs.
Well, I didn't see anybody fall asleep, which was a good thing, you know. It's you know, I've been doing this kind of as a ambassador to the short game these days, especially. I've even done some in the UK up at Royal Lytham, just, you know, bringing exposure to the short game because it's different, so different, and that's what I was trying to tell everybody, than what people teach in your long game. And it's a little bit different way of going about that. And I've had the privilege of going and being on the tour for, you know, a number of years, 30 years or so, and seeing some of the greats in the short game, and learned a few things, and from some of the great teachers as well, and like the Peter Cowans and Ledbetters and so forth, and it's fun to pass that along with my kind of take on it, which is a little bit different, and to bring that to your members, because it's a great way of bringing your members back into the fastest way to lower their scores. And everybody tries to, you know, work on the long game, but, you know, guys, if you go out and engage somebody and teach somebody something in the short game, that spreads around, and it's a great way to get more revenue, you know, in teaching, and more sales in different product. Of course, Callaway wedges. Excuse me.
Of course.
Where's the gentleman? There he is. But it's you know, it's fun.
Now tell me, I'm sort of interested in your life. Look, Roger, I tried to do a little bit of research on you before setting up here this evening. There's not a lot on you. You're a bit of a quiet mouse.
Did you
I
see
looked,
me on a you know, the post office wall or something? Or
no, there's not a lot on you. You're
the most 10 wanted people we always have on the U.S. Postal.
You're a bit of a man of mystery. But I just want to go back to the very beginning, because you're an absolute pioneer in the game. And I want to know, I know you live in California now, so I'm not too sure if that's where you grew up. But how does a young guy even begin to think about designing a golf club? What drove you to that point, and how do you, in your mind, go, that's what I'm going to do?
When I was extremely naive, okay, and I started by collecting the antiquity and learning about the history of collecting clubs that were patented, but with hickory shafts. And so I have a collection of some 300 of these. So I started learning about design through that. But I loved the history, and I wanted to reproduce Bobby Jones's putter called the Calamity Jane. I did so, and Spalding had the rights to it, but they let it go. And I went to the PGA show about 1980 or 79 and looked around, and I happened to sell some of these. It was for a gift item for clubs to have as a gift for member guests and so forth. And looked around, and the big manufacturers, which was Spalding, McGregor, and Wilson, were making really poor woods, okay? And all the manufacturing bases had changed from where they started. So to make a wood was about 60 or 70 operations, in which Phil, you can testify to this. Each successive operation could mess up the wood, could turn it into a reject, okay? And so you had to be very careful, and you had to be very artful, the way you sanded it, the way you bored it, and so forth. So, and there was a woodmaker back in Los Angeles, and I went back after the PGA show and said, you know, I might be really stupid, which I was at the time, but anyway, I said, I think we can do something here. Let me start working with you. And I went in and started, with my hands, started grinding some masters, and it started from there.
But the wedge was obviously always a love for you. That was something where you felt that you could actually create and design something different.
Well, I always wanted to make something obviously really look good and perform well, no matter what. And that's still our emphasis. And I've been with Callaway now. I started Cleveland in about 1980 and sold it in 90 because I wanted to there was no public markets at that time, and I needed money to build the infrastructure for engineering, because I knew golf was really changing at that time, and the physics of golf was coming in, and we needed marketing dollars and so forth. So the only way to do it was to sell it. And I sold it to a French company called Rossignol Ski, and a great company and some wonderful management in France. Unfortunately, they hired a guy that was a French guy to come over to run it, and he wanted to grow the company extremely fast, and I said, you got to go one way, and he said another, and then after my 5 years of employment, he showed me the door, so I exited stage left, and then I got a couple calls, one from your boss, and one from Callaway, from Ely Callaway and Dick Homestetter, and so I started in '96 January at Callaway and did design work, and a lot of design through their irons. I did the I don't know if you remember the X12 iron and all that X series. I did that and did some wedges, but we had to have short hosels in those days, so it's hard to make a wedge with short hosels.
A short what?
It's a little thing that attaches the shaft to the head.
I knew that. Okay, I get that.
But ours were very little at that time.
Okay, really? How little, Roger? That's right, Jonathan. Just checking.
Exactly. I'm not going to go there.
No. I'll make it later.
We're the shortest in the industry, I'll tell you that.
You just sign your name to that, and that's it. We're done here.
we actually had an S2H2. You know what that stood?
No idea.
I'm not even going to go there either.
No.
So, because you guys know what that stood for.
Tell us about the 588. The 588. See? Hey? Research.
Well, that goes back to research. That's my Cleveland days. Anyway,
I know.
When
he wants to go back to short talk.
At Cleveland, when I first started researching names to call clubs, and you do business in different countries, especially in Japan, where there was a big golf market in Japan and different countries in Europe, you had to register names in every one of the countries. And I said, wow, that's too expensive to do that, And so I started calling the irons numbers. So the first wedge that I really did was the fourth iron set that we did. And it was introduced in '85. So it was the 485. And that won a few. Curtis Strange used it. A lot of guys used it. Stockton and some pretty good players. And it won a couple of U.S. Opens. And the next one, and this is how fast we iterated back in those days, was the 588. So it's the next generation iron introduced in '88. So that's the 588.
That's
so
still one of the most. It's, I believe, still one of the most popular clubs today. Am I right in saying that?
Not a bad design.
Not a bad design, even if you say so yourself.
Not a bad design.
But tell me, all those years ago when you were designing clubs, how hard was it to convince the players at the time to use your clubs? Was it a challenge, or were they really looking for sort of new technology, new design, and you just delivered it?
You'll love this one. When I first started, and I started with persimmon woods, and I went to the PGA Tour, I charged the players. Okay?
You charged them to play with your clubs?
About $40 a wood, okay, when I first went to the tour. David Graham came to me and he said, son, you're never going to make it with this when you're charging. You got to give this product away. I said, no, it's a qualifier. If you took $10 out of your wallet, and these guys got everything, okay? If you took anything out of your wallet, you're going to try it. You're not going to give it away. I wanted people to try the product. And so finally, after a couple of years, the PGA Tour came to me and said, you know, we don't want you to do this anymore. And I said, okay. But I charged them. Anyway, it was fun. But I wanted them to try it because I had confidence in the product, because I was competing with people that didn't know what they were doing with woods, okay? They did at one time, but the great artisans didn't go down to Tullahoma or didn't go down to Albany, Georgia from Cincinnati with McGregor, okay? They stayed home. And there was only a few. Tony Penna went down to McGregor, but then he left to start his own company in Florida. So most of the people didn't stay. So
tell me now, I mean, you're obviously working with Callaway, and I can imagine, I mean, they've really done some leaps and bounds in the last few years with their equipment and also the people that they're working with, and the sponsors. Tell me, in terms of their R&D department, I imagine that would be a pretty cool place to work and very different for you. I can think over your career and where you've been, and with the technology and the tools now. What's it like working at the Callaway R&D department?
Well, all the golf manufacturers work with great science now, and they have, and I'll just speak of Callaway. We have, you know, doctors or you know, PhDs in different, you know, sciences of metallurgy, and we, you know, we're into the golf ball now. We make some wonderful golf balls, and we have aero guys from Boeing that do that, but the science of our R&D, we do, you know, we look at mass properties, and we look at compliance on faces, and we're bringing in the speed of the face that we did with the drivers and the fairway woods now into irons. And so we have a coefficient, or COR, coefficient of restitution, that gets up to, you know, in the 8.2s in irons now. And that's quite something. So we're giving the amateur, the pros aren't interested in that. They hit it long enough. I mean, they're hitting 200-yard 8 irons now or something. I don't know. But they're getting stronger. They don't need that, but the amateur does. And they want to hit it a little bit further and make it easier, and I'm certainly in that category. I want that. So we're putting a lot of effort. We have I think the biggest spend in R&D of any of the golf manufacturers, and we have some wonderful people, and we now have a CEO that gets it. He's been with us about 3.5 years, Chip Brewer, and the man is brilliant, okay? He's a golfer. That's really nice to have as a CEO, right? We hadn't had.
Makes sense.
We were in a death spiral before, and now we're coming back, and we're giving some really good competition in all product categories, and we're actually, you know, if you look at some of the data tech numbers in the U.S., we're #1 in a lot of categories, and we're doing pretty well.
So tell me about, I just love the name saying Mac Daddy, but the MD3, I love it. Did you name it Mac Daddy, by the way? It sounds like, you know, like a rap sort of thing.
It is kind of Mac
I like
Daddy.
it.
Yeah.
But I mean, does it, the Mac Daddy 3, so tell me.
Can somebody put on some music right now?
Yeah, the Mac Daddy 3. You swing it with the Mac Daddy 3.
Actually, that came from Phil Mickelson, which is, he is so, he's really proactive to work with, okay?
Does he give you feedback? Does he say, listen, Roger, you know, you gotta add some more lines and you
gotta get it together, you know.
What does he give you feedback?
He's pretty proactive.
Okay.
You know, he tells you exactly what he feels at all times, every time. And,
so does he hold back?
Sometimes it's good, you know. And this time it was. And what happened is that when he first came to us, I don't know, what is it, 10 years, 12 years ago, something like that, he wanted a wedge with the most, was before the rule change of the RNA and USGA, and he wanted the most aggressive groove known to man, okay? And so
He likes an aggressive groove.
he just like yourself. You like aggressive.
I love an aggressive groove.
That's what
You
I
picked up
figured.
on that immediately.
Well, I sat next to you at dinner. You know,
Yeah.
I get the vibe, and so I got this. We made this wedge with this group. And he hits this shot about 40 yards, not a long shot. Okay, and the ball rips back. I think I told you all today, but here's this white ball mark coming up the face like a tire tread, you know, just ripping off the line. And he looks down and he says, "Wow, that's my Mac Daddy groove." And everybody starts laughing. We never heard that expression before. And we just loved it. So we named the wedge after it. There's a lot of things we name after, you know, Phil Mickelson.
There you go.
Like his own PM grind.
Has everybody seen the YouTube clip with Roger and Phil, where he does that flop shot over your head? Has anyone seen that? He's standing 4 feet away from you. You're on the edge of a green. You're standing 3 feet. You literally, I mean, you are this close. And he gets out his wedge and he just flops it over your head. You do not move. Your body does not move. And he just pops it over your head and just rolls into the green. Has anyone seen that? It is insane. Roger, how drunk were you at the time just to be standing there so still? Or were you on Valium or what? How did you do that?
Well, you have to understand, Phil Mickelson, I saw something prior to this. Do you all know Dave Pelz? You know Dave Pelz? He's about 6'5", right? Well, he knocked it over Dave Pelz's head. So if he can knock it over Dave Pelz's head, it's easy for me. So I just stood there with no qualms. We did 3 takes of that. And every one, the last one I could see the rotation of the ball, and I said, okay, that's enough.
It's a little too close.
No, it's a little close.
Get a little haircut.
But he swings, you know, I put a wedge down, it's on YouTube, I put a wedge down which is 35 inches, right? And so he swings really hard. He swings around 85 miles an hour because we've clocked it, okay? And which is pretty as fast as I hit a driver right now. And he hits this wedge. But it was with the 60 degree, not the 64. Be too easy with the 64.
Well, I got to say, you've got courage just standing there. I mean, he is one of the greatest wedge players that's ever been. Tell me who, I mean, putting aside, have you ever had a moment with any particular golfer by favour that you've just come back and said, what an amazing experience? And I imagine that you've played with many professionals in your career, but is there any one that sort of stands out that's been a bit of a favourite in your life?
I think Byron Nelson. He was an incredible man. He retired really early. I got a chance to know him, and at Cleveland, I had all my buddies would call me and say, and I had a person that would answer the phone that was rather naive at golf, and then she would just pass the calls through, and I had my buddies call and said, you know, Arnold Palmer's on the phone, or Jack is on the phone, and you know, and it wasn't, okay? And so I got kind of used to this and immune to it, you know, and then all of a sudden, Byron Nelson's on the phone. And I said, wow, one of my guys is really kind of, you know, getting pretty imaginative. And sure enough, it was the great Byron Nelson. And we were known for our persimmon woods, and he was so nice and humble. He says, I want you to make, I saw a set of irons you did. And it was this one iron that I did, he said, I'd love for you to make that set for me. And so that's how that relationship started. And I said, you know, Mr. Nelson, I said, we make woods, you know, because we were really doing well with woods. And he says, yeah, I know, son, but I want this iron. So I did that, and he enjoyed that. And about 4 months later, he called up and he says, okay, it's time to make some woods, okay? So I said, by any chance, do you have any of the woods that you played with? And he said, I happen to have the driver that I used in 1945 that I won 19 tournaments with.
Wow.
11 in a row.
Yeah.
Okay? And I said, well, get somebody, you know, get Brinks to bring it out here, you know, and we'll duplicate it.
Yeah.
And we did that, and we brought out a series of irons and woods under the Nelson name, and was able to, sign him as a endorsement contract and got him some money, and it was just wonderful. Just a true gentleman. He's gone now, but just a true tribute to golf. And that, he and Hogan and Snead were all the same age, and it was just an incredible era. But I had a chance to get a chance to know the great man. I played with him twice. He had.
Did he have your number?
He could really still hit it pretty well, but he had a bad hip at the time, and he was complaining about that. But he was quite something.
Yeah. So listen, are you playing much these days, Roger? I know that you're sort of traveling a lot. You're a great ambassador for the game.
Well,
you're still working at it, so.
I get a chance tomorrow to play the great Kingston Heath.
Aha.
Yes, which I did the last time I was here.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a tradition I have of going to, Huntingdale,
Yes.
the Masters in Kingston Heath.
Kingston Heath.
I like this,
Yeah.
but it's a little too many years in between.
Now, so you also like your wines too, because Victoria produces some sensational wines. So I hope Joel is hosting you, and you're actually getting to try some of the fabulous Victorian wines.
We're working on that.
Oh, okay.
We're working on
We're
it.
clearly failing in that
is
area.
kind, and Joel is kind enough to organize. We're going to go down to the Barossa Valley, hopefully, in a few days and partake.
Yeah.
Because I love the particularly red wines, and we have some nice ones in California.
Beautiful.
But I think honestly, you keep all the good ones down here.
Yeah, we do.
And I don't blame
We don't
you.
like to share them either. by
I
the way.
wouldn't share them either.
No,
So
we don't like
I
to
want
share them.
partake of some of those, and they're beautiful. They're beautiful wines.
So tell me, you're busy these days. What's the future hold? Are you still obviously very in touch with the designing of the clubs and as I say, traveling the world, engaging with pros? What's the future hold?
Well, I've been doing a number of things like I did today, and I've done them in different parts of the world, and I'm trying to, especially with the pros at Greengrass especially, and I've done a number of things this year throughout the United States, the East Coast, and all over. And it's great for I think, to bring some attention to the short game, and I think a lot of pros are a little hesitant to be active in bringing the lessons to to their members, because maybe they have some they don't feel confident because they have to go and perform or hit some shots in front of the members. So I want to help the professional be more confident as well, and bring attention to the fact that it's a different type of stroke, and give them confidence, and also expose our great product to them. But it's to help the professional, get another revenue source, and bring that customer into to buy irons and woods, but you can do it in a number of different ways. It just doesn't have to be with a driver or a set of irons. It can be through wedges. It's creating that relationship and bonding with that member, and it's key.
Let me ask you a question, because we're all of us collectively are very interested in growing the game. Globally, we talk about memberships in clubs that are dwindling. Are there any initiatives in the States that you've seen that is about growing and getting more people interested in the game? What are they doing over there that you've seen that's working, or different areas?
Well, they're very active with a number of different programs, but one thing I'd like to have the PGA of America and the USGA try to engage and tell me if I'm wrong, and I think it would help us all, is to make it cool, make it popular, make it a neat thing to do if we have a couple hours in the day to go play 9 holes, rather than just think about 18 all the time. And when you think about 18, you think about 5 hours. I know you play fast down here, but you have to get to the golf course and back and so forth. But if you think about 9 holes, you might have an afternoon. You work in the morning or something, or you work, you have a meeting in the afternoon. You can knock off 9 holes and have some fun. And I think if we all get involved in that, when you go out there, you'll buy a sandwich, you'll buy a beer in the afternoon, and you'll spend some money, in the shop. You'll buy some golf balls, buy some gear, and get another chance to see some people. But I think it's really underrated and needs to be exposed.
The 9 holes. Well, Nicholson's always been very vocal about trying to sort of bring in a 12-hole comp and for BJ to take that seriously. Do you think that's ever going to be a reality? That'd be a no? That would be
no? I think that's difficult because I think all our courses are made of, different 9-hole, or 18 holes, which is half of that is 9, and I think you can play the back 9 or the front 9, depending upon where the load is on the course. You can get people out. Sometimes you have 36 holes. It's hard to get 12 holes in or something like that, or 6 holes, 2 6s. I mean, that would be fine, but I think that's just a little bit more difficult of a concept to know. And I want to not just have league golf where you have 9-hole leagues. I want to make it cool to go out and play 9 holes, because I do that. I'm always at golf, so I sometimes don't want to spend 18 play 18 holes. I want to practice a little bit, have some fun doing that, and go play 9 holes and be done.
9, wine, and dine.
And my wife would like to see me once in a while too.
She
I'd
would?
like to see her too.
No. Too much time on the road. Yeah. 9, wine, and dine, we were talking about it earlier, as one of the great initiatives, because I think, if you bring golf together with alcohol and the opposite sex, then that's got to attract more people. Just saying.
That sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, so there you go. It's true. How long are you here for before you go back?
Well, we're going to go down to New Zealand in a few days, and then up to the Australian at the Open. Okay, and then
that's my club.
Exactly. So
it's looking pretty good.
Is it looking pretty good?
It's looking pretty good.
Good. And we're having, I understand, Mr. Spieth come back for that. I think that's pretty exciting. He wasn't for a while, but I think it's great for him. I think golf is in great hands right now with your young Mr. Day and Mr. Spieth and the other young players. It's in good shape, and these guys are such gentlemen. I mean, McIlroy, they're all so grounded from some of the folks that have been out there. It's just marvelous. And
the sport is in very good hands.
It seems like it.
Yeah, it's very true. Yep. Does anyone have any questions that you'd like to ask Roger before? I was going to say before we had dessert, but I think you're halfway through dessert. Any questions? Yes.
Where do you think, obviously golf's evolved a lot with technology over the years. Recently it's been a lot about CG and MRI. Where do you think the technology will get to?
Where is technology going from here? Well, all the manufacturers here are being rather limited by the governing bodies to what we can do with compliance on the face, or COR. We can, and there's some companies, particularly in Japan, are actually making some drivers that are over that limit for people that just want not to bother playing tournaments. They're older folks that want to be able to hit it further. I don't think Callaway's going to do that, but that's what some folks are doing in Japan. But there's limitations. So what we're trying to do is you don't always hit the center of the golf club, and so we're trying to have that speed from that compliance and expand that speed in a larger area, and that takes some real engineering to do that. And so that's what we're doing, and you'll be seeing that in a product that's coming very soon, in a driver. And
so does that mean you're working on a bigger sweet spot?
That's exactly what it is. We're also working on aerodynamics. She's pretty good, isn't she? She doesn't miss too many things. But Deborah, you're great. It's wonderful to be with you, by the way.
Thanks, Rog.
Yeah. But we're working on little things like how do you make a club face that's rotating through the last 3 feet to get to the ball. How do you make that faster? Okay. So we're working on things like that, and I think you'll see something pretty soon. A little, some of our efforts for that, and that's what it's hard to do something that only goes 100 miles an hour and make it faster. So engineering.
Darren always talks about getting more women into the game. If you gave them a bigger sweet spot, you'd get more women in the game.
I like that. Then we're going to get more women in the game.
So there you go.
with
There's some
Callaway.
motivation for you in your next R&D with Callaway.
I like that. You'll have to be a spokeswoman for Callaway. There you go.
Any more questions before we really start losing it up here?
But we're working hard. There's a smaller area all the time, to answer your question. So it takes some real engineering and some real dedication, and the great companies are after it. What I mean by that is, the Titleist and the Pings and the TaylorMates and ourselves, we're after it hard.
Any more questions? Well, I think we're all going to be...
Okay.
Would you like to say something?
We're missing dessert.
Here we are. So I thought I'm seeing
I
it
just
coming
want to
up.
say it's great to be here with you, and it's great to be here in Australia. And Darren and Mark, thank you for the invitation to be here with the wrecking crew that you have. And it was really fun for me today. I loved it. And what's really fun for me is to see, somebody's eyes light up and say, "Ooh, that felt good," And so I saw some of those moments today, and that's all I need.
Yeah,
it's wonderful.
Beautiful. Well, they've had a wonderful day today. So I think on behalf of all the members, thank you very much for all your time and efforts today, and for chatting to me, Roger. And wish you the very best for the rest of your trip. Roger Cleveland, ladies and gentlemen.